So this is like the third time I'm recording this video because I made a couple of mistakes, and I don't want to give you guys like false information. So this is gonna be the last time I redo it. If there are mistakes, then I'll just put them in the edited version of the video. But this is just going to be a quick primer of essentially everything that I've learned in regards to the various systems presented by these three people. You know, starting with Dave Teaches specifically. And Dave Teaches is basically just this random guy on YouTube that has a course specifically on market structure. Um, I don't want to go too deep into market structure right now. All you do have to know about market structure is that it's essentially just highs and lows in price, whether it be from the 1 minute, the 15 second, or the 15 minute, or the hourly. It's the same thing presented across different time frames. And he goes very deep and in depth into the specific areas regarding market structure. And I could present them to you from both a higher time frame and a lower time frame, uh, given these examples. So what we have here is a 15-minute down candle. So whether or not you want to classify the 15-minute down candle as a 15-minute area or not, you know, that's up to you. I would classify it as a 15-minute area. Um, Within this 15-minute down candle, what we have is both a move origin, the move that began the leg of price as you see it right here, and you have an S&D responsible, the last down move before the break of the last high of the area. Um, and before I dive a little bit deeper into all of this stuff, again, if you haven't checked out Dave's stuff specifically, then I advise you to at least check out his stuff before you try to understand the way that I'm explaining it, so that you have an easier time verifying what it is that I'm saying. Because I don't want you to take my word as law. Don't take it at face value. Understand it from the man himself. This is the way that I'm honoring my experience by telling you guys to go through the exact same motions that I went through, because he is the person that essentially started all of this for me, that got me into Stoic, that then got me into J, that then got me into the way that J views price. So if you want to understand, the deeper that I go into this, past the S&D responsible, past the move origin, then you have to first start here with the basics. So yeah, Dave, like I said, or if I didn't say it, I'm gonna say it now. He classifies these areas as the strongest possible moves and reactions that you could possibly get from the market. Um, Now then, as you can see here, we actually did get a move off of this origin. There was no sweep corresponding to this S&D responsible, unless you're counting this sweep here as a potential sweep to generate a substantial move, especially considering the order flow from Asia's open. And we did get a little bit of a wick tap here. The 50%, it went from 63 to 67. So about a 5 point move, give or take, but it never delivered the high of the zone itself. And it was the origin that then delivered the the one-to-one of itself, not of the entire zone, but of the subsection of the origin here. You see this high right here, delivered above that. It tapped into this fractal and went lower. Now then, the higher time frames you go, even just beyond the 15-minute, you get stronger reactions from these areas. If you look here, you have this origin here from the higher time frame. I'd say that this is like an hourly origin. I don't want to lie to you guys, so let me just... Yeah, this is an hourly origin. And we tap into the hourly origin and we get a pretty strong reaction from price. Goes here, delivers the one-to-one, then immediately goes back off in the opposite direction. We have the sweep here, the tap here, and the flip at the 50% of the area. And this is in reference to Dave's main model. He talks about it frequently, so I'm not leaking any information here. When I say this, oh snap. Just go back. In which he's constantly looking for a sweep. He's then looking for a tap into the area and then a specific tap at the 50% of that area for the longer move up. This tap is representative of what he calls toilet paper pupil. We get the flip into here and then we move above, and then we have a lower time frame flip here for confirmation. This is Dave's main model. And what Stoic Trader did is that he came in and he found a way to simplify Dave's main model in the context of a specific sequence. And each individual part of this sequence has an aspect to itself in which it has a purpose of price delivery. So Stoic says that the one, or the break of the one against the previous high, is the delivery of the people who got into a momentum trade entry over here, right? Then what happens is that we come back from this one to liquidate the people who got in early over here. And then this two is representative of us liquidating all the people who got in short to take out or to put in another low. And then this three represents the final liquidation phase in which we distribute back into the upside for the highest probability and longest move. This is how Stoic conceptualizes it, and he could conceptualize it now, not just it from it coming from the SNDR, but also the origin itself. He has multiple different models and indicators in which he uses it with and coincides with the SBS model itself, just the base SBS model. So all this to say that the SBS sequence is essentially just the greatest simplification of Dave's model that we have thus far and that I'm showing you. If you were to explain this in SBS terms within this origin, if I was to go back to the 15-minute, you'd have, oh shit. Let me actually delete this so it's not in the way. You'd have this being the one, the break below, this being the two, this whole trendline liquidity being the three, and us tapping into back into the area for the four and the five for the final distribution. And oftentimes what you'll see is that instead of it just, flipping and then going back in the opposite direction from the origin the origin is looking to hold, you'll see it distribute this whole way back down. So all this to say is that these people did a really great job at simplifying or deriving certain models as to how they work, to how the market moves fundamentally in terms of supply and demand, because that's what Dave's system ultimately is. It's just supply and demand. And they learned how to capitalize off of these supply and demand areas. And this brings us to the final point, right? And again, before I go into this even deeper, I advise you, go look at J Intraday's stuff, or not J Intraday stuff. Before you look at J Intraday stuff, go look at Dave Teaches if you haven't already watched his playlist a multiple of times. I've taken, oh my God, I've taken so many notes on just Dave Teaches' stuff. I have like 2 notebooks and a binder filled with his work to the very brim. You know, I didn't get sleep over it. But at the end of the day, it just wasn't enough for me. You know, his system, although it could turn you into a profitable trader, it can explain the vast variety of the moves in the market. Doesn't explain moves like this when we don't necessarily get a large reaction off of it. Why is it that price didn't move off of this origin to move higher? Or maybe this origin or this S&D responsible to move higher, as opposed to, let's say, well, I don't know, as opposed to the move that this happened here, right? You know, a lot of y'all would consider this a market structure shift. Granted, this is the real 15-minute area over here. So if you're not looking from the higher time frame, you'd be blind to see that this is just absorption. I don't even want to go too deep into that concept. But a lot of the times, it can be really difficult to read the market in the way David's explaining it, especially if you're not even aware of when absorption can potentially occur. And not to say that this can't be solved through copious amounts of back testing. It can be, but this is just one of the many aspects of price in which it's the brutal reality in which you're not going to be able to understand every single move with the same concept in a simplistic way. It takes a multitude of different concepts and different confluences in different contexts in order to understand what price is doing at its very moment. And a lot of the times it can get really easy to get lost in this very facade that presents itself as a facade, but isn't really once you learn how to simplify it just a little bit. And it started with Stoic, but what I truly believe is that it ends with this guy. It ends with him. And Stoic has a quote called, or he got it from Leonardo da Vinci: simplicity is sophistication. Guys, we have to learn how to understand the market in a simplistic way. Sure, I couldn't explain this from the perspective of the 15-minute. This is a 15-minute down candle. Wait, did we close below? Is it even a 15-minute down candle? Oh my God, we didn't even close below it. So it's not even a 15-minute down candle. That's fake news. Jesus. Yeah, we didn't even close below it. So it's not even a 15-minute down candle. It's more like a 5-minute area. Yeah, it's a 5-minute area. So these areas are purely order flow. This isn't even a valid area by Dave's concepts. Oh my God. You see how complicated this can get? This is proof. It gets really, really complex. So these are 5-minute areas. The 5-minute and the 1-minute is primarily order flow. These aren't areas that you should necessarily be looking to take trades off of, especially in this direction, given the context of this move origin. So what happens? We take the trendline liquidity, we absorb this area, and we go in the opposite direction. Yeah, thank God I re-recorded that last video. Jesus. Oh my God. So what is it then that we do? How can we simplify this? How? What can we do to simplify these concepts? Jay figured that out. And what he did is that for every single aspect of the sequence, you're now able to derive personality traits from the different aspects of the sequence, and how you can derive a narrative from these hyper specific aspects as to create a story for how price can potentially facilitate itself. And again, if you're not familiar with Stoics concepts, then please go watch his videos on SBS. Alright, so essentially is that from observations on the 15-second time frame, what Jay was able to do was that he was able to derive a system based off of the highest probability moves in the market. He did this because it started with an observation, I believe, in which he was in a Discord server that I was formerly in, which is how I found out about him initially last year, and how I learned, the very basics of his stuff. Essentially, what he found out through observing SBS is that it's not a guarantee that this higher time frame 4 and 5 delivers to the low. If you look over here, what did I say before? What did I say? I said that this sequence doesn't always have to deliver to the downside. We can get a move back to the upside. But the difference is, how do you know where it's going to deliver to? He figured this out. The answer is you don't. It's not a high probability move. What we know as SBS by Stoic isn't the highest probability setup in the market. It's not. The highest probability setup is actually taking this 15-second time frame to the one's high. And it presents itself multiple times per day across multiple different time frames. And once we come back to sweep the level behind this two, that's when we decide if we're bullish and if we're bearish, because then this creates a 3 from J and a 4 and a 5, which is also a 1 and a 2 from J. So all this to say is that through his observations on the 15-second, what he learned is that these levels that are left behind from the 15-second twos are actually the most powerful POIs in the market. And I can be a testimony to this. I have seen this play out so many times over the course of the last 6 months. So many freaking times. So many times. And what I want to say is this, is that it takes a lot of backtesting in order to reach this understanding. And I know Dave has talked about his mechanical rejection model that he could teach to like a 5-year-old or something. I believe it has something to do with these levels. So then that brings us to a couple of questions. How can we use J's system? How can we use this very system to explain every single move in the market? Because if you watched my I am wrong video, this is my ultimate goal. I want to be able to explain every single move. I want to be able to understand price at a fundamental level. I don't want to just be able to take profit from a specific area. That's not like, it's cool to make money. Yeah, we're in this to a certain extent for the money, but that shouldn't be our primary focus. How can we learn to capitalize off of these things? And since we just definitively understood that this isn't a 15-minute area, that this is actually a 5-minute area, what do we have here within the 5-minute area inside of the 1-minute order flow? We have a 15-second SS, and we gravitate towards this SS for the greater move above. So now there's a couple key distinctions here. And you know something? Can even count this as an ISS to the left. We'll look on the 5-second in a second to prove my point. So let's go on the 5-second and investigate a little bit more. Wow, that was a lot quicker than before. If you look here from the 5-second, what do we see? we see A1, A2, a 3, J's 1, and then a 4 and a 5. Deliver higher. But this is only from the 5-second time frame. But then what do we see here from the left side? We see a 1. Oh shit. Oh shit. I want to say fake news. Yeah. A 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5. This is of a higher time frame orientation. The golden sweep. Within the 5 or 1 minute area. So then what does this tell us about SS levels? Just based off of this one case study, and if you're gonna keep on following this backtesting series, I'm expecting you to understand that this isn't just a one case. This happens all the time. All the freaking time. You can explain, I don't know about this move because it's tapped into an origin. You can consider this a 3 for a higher time frame 1, 2. But it explains most, if not 90% of the moves in the market, I think. And it's a testament to this original quote. What was it? Simplicity is sophistication. SS. Ain't that a coincidence? Big S, buddy. Hold up. Even bigger S. Simplicity is sophistication. So, from this, we have a couple of questions, right? And this is what I'm going to be looking to answer in this backtesting series. For one, the definitive distinction between what is an ISS level and what is an SS level. We understand that the ISS levels are capable of being formed and are only formed on the 5-second and time frames below the 15-second. So that's a clear distinction there, but we want to learn how these look like in the unique ways that they form from even just the 1 minute. And then what are the different ways? This is the big question. This right here. Let me just circle. What are the different ways that price can facilitate itself based upon a bias generated not only from these levels, but also from the failures or facilitations of the 4 and the 5? How can we learn to differentiate these things and to generate a proper bias outside of market structure and from the perspective of failed sequences? Using our current understanding of market structure, if you've really developed this understanding, we can learn how to do this just based off of how assesses can facilitate itself from higher time frame narratives or from lower time frame narratives to higher time frame narratives. So that brings us here. All of these different levels of price. And, if we go into the higher time frames again, I don't want to be choosing 15-minute areas. So let me just make sure. So this is a 15-minute area, but it's not a valid, uh, it's not. It's not a valid 15-minute area. Neither is this. So these are all order flow areas, areas facilitated by order flow. So I think we can count these as SS levels. This SS level was formed from the wick, the tap here, over here, and we leave. This is of a smaller orientation. So maybe we could consider this from the seconds time frame and an ISS level. We don't use ISS levels as targets, just as POIs that price is attracted to, just as regular areas in which price is capable of generating a move. We have maybe this SS level from the 15 second. You might be able to get away with calling this NSS level. And this is definitely an SS level, and this is definitely an ISS level. So if we are to count all of these as SS levels, uh, you know what? I almost don't want to count this. Doesn't seem that high probability to me. This is higher probability to me. And I'll go deeper into that in the later videos. But if we look here at this example, what do we see? We have a 1. Oh my freaking God. We have a 1, a 2, a 3. SS level created below, a 4. A bounce off the lower end of the 1 from the ISS level. And then the final move from the SS level with inner confirmation from the ISS level. And if you're not familiar with this, with confirmations of ISS, similar to what happened over here, I advise you to watch Jay's 5th video on the LSS model. It's a crazy model that I've personally been observing for the past couple months, but he was able to put it into words. And what you begin to see is that this is just a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from Stoic's model. This is just the sweep, the tap, and the flip from Dave's model. But what you begin to see within Jay's model, which is why I love it so much, is that you have the combination of both the most powerful POIs from Dave, and you have the combination of Stoic's SBS all in one system explained by the same exact concepts. And now I hope your brain is starting to turn on to the potential of this. Because all this really is, though, is just a different way of viewing price, but in a much simpler way, albeit complicated in the fact that it takes a little bit of learning of all of these systems in order to fully grasp this one. But if you just start with the number 1, then you'll gain access to all the other numbers from the 2 to the 3, then to the 4 and the 5. And all of a sudden, this simple explanation here that I outlined is starting to look, if you notice with this ISS, this SS, different perspectives in which you can look at it from SBS, it's quickly starting to look like this here. All of their models are there. It's up to you to choose which one you want to use. And for all the haters, I chose this day at literally random. I'm not lying. I literally just made this backtesting session. This is Jay's channel. Link in the description. Oh shit. Oh fuck. Alright. This is Dave's channel. And then this is Stoic's channel. Links in the description for all of them. I'll see y'all later.